Hello, hello. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Hunter Biden's sweet deal. We'll be talking about Trump in his interview with Brett Baier yesterday at on Fox News, and he talked, of course, about the election. He talked about um, Brett had some questions he pushed back on with Trump, and Trump, pushed back and defended himself. But he talked about his indictment with the DOJ, and it it's oh, I don't understand why people go on TV and talk about this stuff so much. That I don't understand when you're accused of some kind of crime. But he didn't dispute him moving his boxes around, which the obstruction charges are what's really getting to him. But his sort of thinking is it's my stuff. I had a right to go through the stuff and move the stuff and I guess do whatever he wanted with the stuff. So I don't know if that's gonna be the best way to go about it. I think if he can get a lot of information that maybe lawyers said thrown out and restore that kind of line for like the client and the lawyer sort of privilege, um, maybe he'll have a better chance at that. But we'll see. Also, some other things we're going to discuss as well. But before we jump in it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. Please check out different merch that we have at blacktnews.com. Like show a couple of things. Well, there's my book, of course, God is Blatant Against Abortion, which is actually available on Amazon and also Barnes and Noble. So it covers theology, obviously, but also covers the science. It also covers philosophy as well, why we need objective morality in regard to this situation. Because people will say there's no such thing as really objective morality, which is funny because you'll get into like a debate or something, and pro-choice people will basically go to the point of saying that they can't condemn like Hitler because do you think you can't say that something is objectively wrong? Because if I say abortion is wrong, they'll say, well, according to you. And I'm like, well, what's the standard? And so people will twist themselves into pretzels to kind of justify killing and mass killing in a in that sense, you know. So the a good reason why we need to have a very clear kind of standard is because human beings are not inherently good and we shouldn't trust each other because we know what happens when people get to pick and choose and say you're human, you're not, you have rights, you don't. We've been down that road, we're still on that road, and I think it's best to just when are we human? Okay, that's the point where I think we should not be able to kill each other. um Self-defense is another thing. There's circumstances you when have to when you get a pass or you have to litigate it or something. But as far as like a blatant sort of right to do that, no. So make that case societal harm of abortion, and it just goes through a lot. So that's available on Amazon and also Barnes and Noble. Also we have well, I'll mention this other book as well. I You can find this book at on Amazon. And so this is Super Kid is a book that I wrote about my dad's stories growing up as a kid. I won't go through the whole spiel today, but if you go to blacktnews.com and you hit the merchandise banner, little page at the top, there's a book banner that'll take you to my book website. So it's a really good middle grade fiction series. If you got some kiddos, I've heard some older people who really enjoyed it as well. It's got a lot of wit. So if family wants to read it together, they'd really enjoy it. People have asked the age range is usually like 8 to 10 is like the sweet spot, but I've had kids as young as 6 who are advanced readers pick it up and read the whole thing themselves. But other merch we got, of course, Life Wins, the Road Casey boarded stuff. We got the You're not that special. We also got those in cute little mugs. And 4th of July is coming up. We got this sweet Frederick Douglass shirt that you guys can get at the website. That's the Constitution's Glorious Liberty document, which he gave that. That's part of his speech. What is the 4th of July to a slave, which he actually gave on the 5th of July, not the 4th, because he didn't crap on the holiday like a lot of people want to do nowadays. And we got the I'm not the victim you're looking for. So check out that stuff at the website. And also, if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, cost stream, Rumble website, all the good stuff. So please, if you can, go ahead and support. So I do want to say this again, if in case anyone missed it yesterday, who's on. I did get a well censored by YouTube yesterday for my interview that I had with Deborah Tilton from the Smart Woman's Health Care, and SMART stands for Science Matters and Abortion Related Trauma. And so YouTube has decided to enact a policy similar to their COVID policy during the pandemic, where they said if you say something against WHO, the World Health Organization, then we're going to take your stuff down. Now, they did not specifically say what was in the interview at all that went against WHO. They didn't cite anything in the interview. They didn't cite anything from WHO specifically that went against their claims or whatever. If you go to WHO and you go to the abortion, it's like abortion is safe, abortion is safe, abortion is safe. And it's unsafe for women to not be able to get abortion. Abortion is safe. And I'm just like, who's it safe for? Like who? Like the point is it's not safe because the goal is to kill somebody. But they didn't get specifics. Now we talked about Deb's story because when she was young, she had an abortion, and it really impacted her psychologically and emotionally and spiritually. And so she had to unwind the damage that was done to her, and has helped other women overcome that as well. She offered great resources, but she also talked about other possible physical complications. And she has a book that she promotes called Complications that has a lot of research and a lot of citations and a lot of papers with a lot of studies, scientific studies. And we can debate those and talk about if it's a good science, bad science, or whatever, and who's right, who's wrong. I don't even know if there's anything addressed specifically from who that disputes anything that was said, because again, they weren't specific. They just took it down, gave a strike, and I appealed it and they would not undo it. So it is what it is. I'm not on my main account this week, and I won't be until my main YouTube account, and I won't be able to be on my main YouTube account until next Monday, or this upcoming Monday. And so I can't even like post anything, though they let me edit a post. So my recent post, I did say FYI I'm posting on this other page. So thank you for people watching and those who might find this and watch it back. I know Facebook has also been throttling my videos as well. So I'm actually like in the middle of posting. I'm live, so people maybe will see it. Um and we're just going to keep at it. So if you do like what I do, please consider going to the website, dropping in your email. So in situations where we are censored, that we will still have a way to connect, and you can still get updates. And there's videos that we posted. I reposted the interview with Deb on Rumble, so it's on my Rumble page. Go Rumble and subscribe. I haven't streamed anything on Rumble because I'm pretty sure you have to have a feed to stream, and I don't, unless you have a particular amount of subscribers. And I don't have enough subscribers on Rumble yet. I have a lot of subscribers on YouTube, but I need people to transfer and go to Rumble, and then I will post more Rumble and I will stream on Rumble when we get to that point. But you got to help me get to the point if that's where you prefer to watch. And so go ahead and subscribe there as well. So go ahead and follow at the different social media platforms. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Most of my handles are at Black Tea News, and if it's not at Black Tea News, it's True Black Tea. Like on Twitter, it's True Black Tea. So today we're streaming on my backup YouTube channel, so you can subscribe there. It's Cup of Black Tea News, Facebook, and I'm streaming on Twitter, which I don't normally stream on Twitter, but I'm streaming there today. So thank you guys for your patience. I know I do long intros, but there's some important information and all kinds of stuff going on right now. But Hopefully my YouTube folks, my normal YouTube folks are figuring it out. Uh, but we're gonna keep plugging along and or chugging along and doing what we do. So anyway, big news with Hunter Biden. Um, he is entering a plea deal, which I think it's funny. It's interesting that this news is announced the same time it's also been announced that Trump's trial is going to be very soon. I think the date's in August, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a very, very speedy trial that they're trying to do. Now, the I'm not surprised. I guess it was kind of speculated that the judge would try to make it speedy, but um, I don't I think that Trump and their team will still try to delay it. So if they can still delay it and work that out, I think they will try to push so it is not done until after the election. Um, if he can't get out of that, I wonder if he will really be indicted and I mean if he'll really be convicted. Um, if that's the route they're going, because if it waits until after the election, the vibe from the voters will be kind of like, well, Trump has to be president because they're coming after him and they're always coming after him and it's unfair how they treat him and we got to vote for him, we got to support him or he's going to go to jail for the rest of his life. And but I think that's a good way to get Trump through the primary. I don't think that's enough to get him through the general election because on the opposite end, there's plenty of people who say, oh gosh, this man has done all these things. This is the only way that we can have any sort of accountability and for him to go to jail. And so we have to vote against him. So we will be rid of him. So he has to lose the election. So the question is there more people willing to come out and vote for him or are there more people willing to come out and vote against him? And I think it's the latter. And I think if that's the gamble, if that's the strategy with the Trump camp, I think that's not a great thing. But I want to address the Hunter stuff first. So you guys know that I like to start with a meme if I can. Sometimes I don't find one or time is short, but I have two. I have two today. So one we got here, Hunter, I have done nothing wrong ever in my life. Joe Biden, I know this and I love you. So um it's from a show. I know of this show. My sister watches it, but very popular memes working around. And also this one. I pled guilty to tax evasion, so you'll spend time in jail, right? And Hunter's just, smiling. You'll spend time in jail, right? So doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it at all. That he will be spending time in jail. So Daily Wire is reporting Hunter Biden reaches plea deal over tax crimes. Hunter Biden will plead guilty to 2 tax crimes and admit the facts of a gun charge in a plea deal with federal prosecutors, according to a new report. The Washington Post reported Tuesday that Hunter, who has been facing a multi-year investigation by officials, negotiated a deal with Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss. Hunter will plead guilty to failing to pay about $100,000 in taxes in 2017 for failing to pay a similar amount in 2018. The tax charges Hunter faces are misdemeanors. He's expected to face any he is expected to not face any jail time, and to be given 2 years of probation. The 53-year-old will also reportedly enter a diversion program upon admitting the illegal purchase of a firearm in 2018. The gun charge could be revoked from his record upon completion of the diversion program, according to sources who spoke with the Post. The defendant has agreed to plead guilty to both counts of tax information, the prosecutor said in a letter sent Tuesday. The defendant has agreed to enter a pretrial diversion agreement with respect to the firearm information. The gun purchase would be illegal because he was on drugs at the time of the incident. Biden faced a 5-year investigation into his taxes and gun purchase from federal prosecutors, FBI agents, and IRS investigators. With the announcement of 2 agreements between my client, Hunter Biden, and the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Delaware, it is my understanding that the 5-year investigation into Hunter is resolved. Lawyer Chris Clark told NBC Hunter will take responsibility for 2 instances of misdemeanor failure to file tax payments with a due pursuant to a plea agreement, a firearm charge, which will be the subject of pretrial diversion agreement, will not be the subject of the plea agreement, will also be filed by the government. I know Hunter believes it is important to take responsibility for these mistakes he made during a period of turmoil and addiction in his life. He looks forward to continuing his recovery and moving forward. Clark added previous reports had indicated that Hunter Biden's tax liability was paid for by high-powered Hollywood lawyer Kevin Morris. Morris reportedly foot the bill for over 2 million of Biden's taxes and worked with him on his art career. Joe and Jill Biden reacted to the news, saying that they supported their son. The president and first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life. He will have no further comment, a statement from the White House spokesman Ian Sams said. The plea deal was criticized by conservatives who argue that Hunter Biden was getting special treatment because he was the president's son. Obviously, House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chairman James Comer, based out of Kentucky, blasted the deal, calling it a slap on the wrist. Hunter Biden is getting away with a slap on the wrist when growing evidence uncovered by the House Oversight Committee reveals the Bidens engaged in a pattern of corruption, influence peddling, and possibly bribery. Comer said these charges against Hunter Biden and sweetheart plea deal have no impact on the Oversight Committee's investigation. We will not rest until the full extent of President Biden's involvement in the family schemes are revealed. Brett Tolman, the former U.S. attorney for Utah, also decried the deal. DOJ is violating its own internal policies on this case. Ashcroft memo requires they charge the highest provable offense and seek consistent sentences with other cases brought by DOJ. This prosecution is an absolute laughable joke. Thousands have been sent to prison for long terms for same charges, Tolman said. They are ignoring decades of policy and precedent to seek felonies, not misdemeanors, and seek sentences within the guideline range. The diversion agreement on the felony is offensive to everyone not politically connected who sought diversions and were literally laughed at by the DOJ, he added. The reported deal comes as Hunter and his father, President Joe Biden, have been facing inquiries from Republican lawmakers over an alleged 5 million bribery scheme involving Ukraine. The allegation is contained in an FD 1023 form that the FBI created based on an interview they conducted with the FBI confidential human source in June 2020. The confidential source has been consistently reviewed by the FBI and has been found to be highly credible. So this is a breaking story. And a lot of people are talking about it. Facts are still coming out and stuff, but um I taxes, people get go serve time and stuff for taxes all the time. I The tax thing um doesn't annoy me so much more than the gun charge, and it possibly being able to be just like kind of off of his record, by the way, because his dad is going around complaining about the rights, the Second Amendment rights of everyone, saying, "Oh, the rights aren't absolute, and they can be changed," and is doing things with executive orders, and the media runs these different reports. There's one the other day about a country, they had mass shooting, so they decided to get rid of their guns, and they run these things like, "What's wrong with Americans? Why can't they do the same thing?" And I've mentioned many times, because I have people who watch me from around the world and who don't understand our gun culture, and are kind of like, "Why don't you guys just get rid of them? Like, what's the big deal?" And I'm like, well, first of all, our crime is like off was crazy right now. Your your self preservation is in your hands. I mean, the reason why we have the Second Amendment is to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. So there's that. It's always this incentive of try me not. So there's that. But people use firearms to for sport. People use firearms defensively to protect themselves, and a lot of people have been able to save their lives using firearms. But what when people look at the sort of injustice in the world, and they see these people going out committing violent crimes, and being released back on the streets. They see them doing all these robberies and ending back out on the streets. And, they look at you, a abiding citizen, and they're like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you give up more of your rights? And I'm like, but sir, there's Hunter Biden, someone who lied on an ATF form, and he lied on the form because he was a drug addict and clearly wrote about it in his book. He wrote about it to get them checks, to get them couple dollars. So he wrote it in his memoir, you know, and the spicy details might have sold some books, but you definitely, implicated yourself in a crime. So you have this evidence, this clear evidence that he's committed a crime, and he's not really going to face any penalties for that. And I'm sure they're going soft on these things, but still like, oh, he entered this plea agreement. Look, we did something. We're not playing favorites with him, which isn't true. Like, think about his dad, pushed for the crime bill, and people haven't forgotten. So, Biden, who was very tough on, drugs and other stuff like that, you have his son, who is addicted, who has an illness, you could say, but he is addicted. And he also committed this crime. And these folks are so on guns, anti-guns, and they're like, why can't you just give up some of your freedoms? Because we see the situation where someone has broken the law. Someone has broken the law, and you want to give them a slap on the wrist. You want to give him a slap on the wrist. And it wasn't just that he filled out this ATF form. His girlfriend like discarded the gun, like at a trash can, like at a grocery store, near a grocery store or something that was right by a school. And the Secret Service allegedly went to go like find the gun, but Hunter wasn't even being like watched at the time. So it's like, why are they interfering? So there's all this kind of shady stuff going on around this crackhead. And it got to be tough for Biden to have, a lot of people have people in their families that have drug problems, and it's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. I understand. But then you go on TV and say stuff like, well, he's done nothing wrong. He's the smartest person I know. And and I know people want to stick up for their kids. Some people will lie for their kids. A lot of people will not lie for their kids though. you know, um, I like, if we committed some kind of crime or something, our mom would be like, you know, officer, let me have like 5 minutes with him, and then you can take him or something. Um, but it's this nepotism, it's this privilege. They feel like they can get away with anything, and they can. And so um obviously this isn't something that they're just being like, oh, totally nothing, but it's basically nothing. It's basically nothing, but he's definitely not getting any jail time. And it's not that I really want to see him rot or something like that, but it's, people see a double standard. And if you were Joe Schmo, people question like, could this have happened to me? And I don't think that I would have been treated the same way, or there's people who weren't treated the same way. And if you open it up so people can just lie on their forms to get guns, if people can illegally obtain firearms and they're okay and nothing happens to them, why should people who have their guns legally just give up more of their rights when you're not going to do anything to people who break the rules? So that's the thing that's really so annoying about all this. And immoral about this, because Biden will still go along, like saying, hey, guns are you people with your guns and your braces that turn them into automatic weapons, or just kind of crazy stuff that Biden throws out there. He was saying something really, really, really ridiculous at an event that's floating around with guns. People were just like, what is he even talking about? It's not even true. Like, but they'll keep on that path. I mentioned the other day, Kamala Harris was like, "Oh, we need to, be able to sue gun manufacturers." You want to sue that they want to sue gun manufacturers, but they don't think that people who create vaccines that injure people, if they injure people, that people should be able to sue vaccine manufacturers. That seems messed up, bruh. That seems messed up. So, if someone uses this inanimate object and has malice in their heart and they cause harm, which you can cause harm with with bats and knives and all sorts of different things. So you want to go after the gun manufacturer for that. But if someone creates something that's directly supposed to go in your body and someone is injured from it or dies from it, you don't think they should be sued. You think that there should just be a fine and that the American people should fit that bill. That doesn't make much sense to me in the least bit. In the least bit at all. So no justice here, I suppose. No real justice, but they're probably going to be like, oh, well, we held Hunter accountable. It's not like, so we just got to be fair. We held Hunter accountable so we can hold Trump accountable. But this is a slap on the wrist. And then there's much other serious things going on with bribery with the Bidens and allegations about how they're making money and what kind of kickbacks and all the kind of deals that they've gotten from their prestige and their position or his dad's position. But if this is just the distraction and they try to let go of all the other stuff, that would be obviously messed up. But I'm surprised really that it even got this far, though, because I'm just a real cynic, I guess, about this stuff nowadays. I'm not expecting anyone to go to jail besides maybe Trump. And I don't know for sure. Like they could try to make some kind of plea or deal or something. And um especially if Trump can't delay the trial, maybe they'll try to do some kind of plea deal or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think if he could possibly get some stuff thrown out from his lawyers, because the lawyers are the ones who gave a lot of information, then he'll have a definitely a better time. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll just have to keep watching the story. Anyway, moving on. Trump did have some words. The Hunter Joe Biden settlement is a massive cover up and full scale election interference scam, the likes of which has never been seen in our country before. A traffic ticket, and Joe is all cleaned up and ready to go into the 2024 presidential election. And this, as crooked DOJ, state and city prosecutors, Marxists, and communists all hit me from all sides and angles with um bull. I make America great again, or or that's an exclamation point. I'm sorry, make America great again. Um, it actually says angels, but and not angles, but yep. He's not wrong that stuff is definitely political, which a lot of people. Interesting poll. CNN had a poll that came out, and people largely believe that the Trump prosecution is the indictment is political. 71% of Americans think that politics played a role in the decision to indict Trump, including 92% of Republicans, 67% of independents, and 53% of Democrats. Very interesting. Even 67% of independents believe that politics had a role to play. And by the way, people believe that politics had a role to play in the Bragg indictment in New York. But something also very interesting is the 71% may believe that politics played a role, but 55% still believe he did something illegal. And only 15% believe he did nothing wrong. And 57% say he put national security at risk. And his favorability is -40 with independents. So that's not a great spot to be in for President Trump. In the general anyway, I think he still has the most likely chance to be able to overcome and take the lead in the actual primary. Um his competitors are going to have to be very compelling and very creative to be able to tell that story of why they're going to be able to make it all the way and why Trump's not going to be able to. If they can convince people what they haven't been convinced of over the past couple of years, that Trump actually lost the 2020 election and that you got to pick someone else. Good luck to them. But I don't know. um, I think this indictment, especially if he can be charged or go through everything very early as opposed to waiting until after the election, um, maybe that's what a lot of his competitors are waiting for, to see how illegally things go down, or if he'll have to make a deal and if he'll have to end up stepping out. I don't see Trump stepping out, but there are people who say that they will vote for Trump from a jail cell, or if Trump's not the nominee, they will write him in anyway, even if he like loses just legitimately in the primary, they will still write his name down. Now, I think that's a lot. I think that's too much, because I'm like, do you guys want to win, or do you just want Trump to win? I really don't want Biden to be. Someone said they would in the comments. I really don't want Biden to be the president in 2024. I don't want that to happen. I'm not convinced totally he'll be the nominee. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but I don't want him to win. I don't want a Democrat to win. And I know that there are Republicans that tick me off, that I don't like, that are weak-willed and um, sometimes do the wrong thing. By the way, Trump has not. We've not always been seeing eye to eye on. Um, Certainly, sometimes the things he tweeted and stuff, but policy wise as well. I haven't agreed with everything that he's done, though I do believe that he was a good president, and I think he's still the strongest bet on foreign policy. But I don't like the things that are alleged in the indictment, though. To be frank, um, I'm looking forward to their defense, um, because if people will say things and people report things on Trump, and then other stuff will come out, and it's like, okay, well, what they said wasn't even true or something. So many times you'd hear stuff about Trump and you're like, well, that sounds really bad. And it's like, but you give it like I learned to like give it a day or two or something, just give it a little bit of time, and then like the real story, something would come out. So there's a lot of things that are alleged in the indictment that I think are pretty bad. I talked to someone at church about it, and so it's like after church, and I'm like, well, what do you think about the indictment? So he's like, oh, they're always coming for Trump. And I started explaining some of the things that are alleged in the indictment, and then he just started like doing that toward his foot, and like shooting Trump, shooting himself in the foot, and that appears to be the case with quite a few things. So I, I wish he didn't make things so hard. I really wish he didn't make things so hard. Because obviously he's a target. They hate him. They never forgave him for winning. They never forgave him for winning, for stepping out of line. He was supposed to be a joke to them. He's supposed to be an easy win for Hillary, and everybody's supposed to go on with their life. But he ran, and he ran as a Republican, and then he won. And they never were okay with that. They weren't okay. Like, people, obviously the Democrats weren't okay. I think there's plenty of like probably establishment people are like, this is not how things are supposed to be. You're supposed to go through a process. People are supposed to wait their turn, which is a big reason why I don't like people's like, well, it's not DeSantis's turn or something. I don't like rhetoric like that. The best person has to compete and they have to win. It doesn't matter whose turn it is. It's not a freaking monarch or something. But they didn't forgive Trump for winning, and they kept going after him continuously. But just because they always went after him continuously does not mean that he acted in the best kind of way according to the things in the indictment. But again, I'm interested and anxious to hear his defense on some of these matters. So anyway, he did have an interview with Brett Baer the other night, and people are talking about a lot of different clips. One clip that is going around that I don't have to show you, but he was asked about um winning 2020 and how is he going to win the suburban like voters back. I don't know if they said suburban white women, but they did say suburban moms. I think they said suburban independence. And Trump's reply was that we won in 2020. So that's there has to be some kind of strategy. And if the strategy is we won before, we actually won before, so we're just going to do like the same stuff but maybe a little bit better, and we will win this time. I don't think that's I don't think that's good enough. I don't really think that's good enough. But I will say, because I have, inside ballpark knowledge, um, that while Trump was the president, he had some bad polling numbers with independents. I mean, with not independents, but like suburban white women or just suburban women, and people went and did data, and it was good data, and not people from the left, people on the right, and they went and they got data, and they're like, we have a really big problem with suburban women. And I people have known that on a national level. People did polling like local levels. It's something that's just true. You can choose to not believe it or whatever, and you may be a person watching saying, well, I'm a suburban woman and I love him. Good for you. But it is a problem. It's been a problem area. And so this information was given to the Trump campaign, and then people on the Trump campaign would still go and have interviews and be like, and they'd be confronted like, well, what are you going to do about the suburban woman vote? And they're like, well, we're not saying that there's an issue in our data. So blatantly like spreading information that's just not true. They obviously were presented with plenty of data of losing the suburban vote, of it being a big problem area for Trump's campaign and his reelection. And so I don't know if how much his campaign is like, oh, here's all the numbers of this terrible polling that we're doing with, with females in suburbia, and we're definitely losing them. And I don't know how much information his people gave to Trump, or how much they decided to just give him good information that made him feel good. And I don't know how much, if they gave him that he's just like, oh, that's fake news, or they're like, oh, well, we're just going to ignore that and not report that because we don't want to give a perception that we could ever lose. I don't know how much it is, was Trump insulating himself, or his people deciding to insulate himself, or them collectively just choosing to ignore it. But I just want to let people know that just saying, well, we actually won the 2020 election, and of course suburban women love Donald Trump. Maybe you do as a suburban woman, but it is and has been a consistent problem since the first midterm. Well, I guess he only was like president for one midterm, but it was a problem people knew in 2018, and it was a problem that persisted through 2020. So regardless of whoever you talk to or hear, or whoever Trump head you hear on Twitter, or if it comes out his mouth himself, I just want to let you know, you can choose to trust me or not, but it's been a consistent problem and it's been a consistent issue. I don't think that, like, you might say, oh, she quoted a CNN poll. I don't doubt that poll is far off from like people's genuine feelings right now. And I think we have a really big problem with independence, and you can choose to believe that or not. But if there is not some kind of strategy to re-engage and flip these people's votes, then there's going to be an issue. If you just say, well, we actually did have their vote, and a machine or something flipped it. If the strategy is just to go in exactly how things were before and expect a different result, that doesn't sound like a winning strategy to me. So the Trump team, it maybe they're saying one thing publicly and they plan to do some kind of different battle strategy behind the scenes. At least I hope that's the case. But the I actually won, so we don't care about the suburban white, or just a denial. It's not good. It's got to have something else going on. So anyway, Trump was asked about his hiring practices, and that's a conversation we've been talking about for a minute, because a lot of people that he's hired, um, he's turned around and has dogged. So Brett did ask about that, and Trump did end up defending his hiring. But let's watch Brett's question, because it is kind of a brutal setup.
Okay, in 2016 you said that. I'm going to surround myself with only the best and most serious people. Well, I did do that, and we had tremendous. Look, we had the best economy we've ever had. The world has ever seen.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you.
Yeah.
Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second Defense Secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock, and your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Canadian, milquetoast, and multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So, why did you hire all of them in the first place?
So, again, kind of a brutal setup and a question that a lot of people have been asking. I think people, particularly were raising their eyebrow up Kayleigh, because people do see her as such a competent and wonderful press secretary. Now, I saw some Trump defenders on social media started sharing like old clips of her before she, was hired to the White House, was on the Trump campaign, because she wasn't for him during the 2016 primary season. She wasn't. A lot of people weren't, but her, in her capacity as press secretary, everybody thought she was fabulous. Even people who didn't vote for Trump or don't like Trump can admit that, like, as far as press secretaries go, she was the last good one. Jen Psaki wasn't good. Jen Psaki's better than what they got now at the White House. But Kayleigh was a rock star and a great defender of Trump. And I thought Sarah Huckabee Sanders was good, and I thought Sean Spicer would be pretty aggressive. The SNL skit was admittedly pretty funny with Sean Spicer. How his McCarthy was like playing him, McCarthy, and had the podium and was like hitting people with it. So it was a good skit from SNL. But he was all right. Sarah was better, but Kayleigh was the best for sure. So people question him going at her. People can change their mind. People can shift teams. So people are taking stuff that she said years ago to kind of be like, aha, she's a traitor. No, she's not a traitor. She had a different opinion. She came on and she served at the pleasure of the president, and she did a good job. She did a great job. And and people I guess start to lose their confidence in her as far as being like a Trump person, because during the primary, the runoff of the Georgia election, she's like basically said, let's not have Trump go. And she didn't like outright say those words, but this is basically what she was saying. Like, Trump should not go, have someone like DeSantis come and whip support. So of course, we end up losing those seats. That seat at the runoff, Warnock, ended up winning against Walker. But let's look at Trump's reply here, because I actually think that he had a pretty good reply to a pretty brutal framing of the question.
Remember this. We took out ISIS. We developed Space Force. I rebuilt the military. I got the largest tax cuts in history. I got the largest regulation cuts in history. I did right to try so that people don't have to die without a chance. We could use space age medical knowledge, and we have the greatest labs in the world. I did all of these things and much, much more. Nobody's ever seen it like that. One other thing, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine. China would never be talking about even the concept of going into Taiwan. Would have never happened. I was getting out of Afghanistan. We would have gotten out through dignity and strength. Instead, it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. These are all great things, and people want them back.
So he just went into like, look, the people that I did have, or I was able to accomplish a lot with who I did hire and what I got done. And so listing he should run on his accomplishments, and he should run his entire campaign, in my opinion, should be I was right. Not you mentioned like 2020 stuff, but like I told you that Biden would do this. I told you he'd be weak here. I told you that gas prices would go up. I told you that pipelines would close down. I told you these things would happen, and they did happen. And I'm going to fix it. I fixed it before. We were on a good path, and Biden has done this stuff, but we will undo it and we will make America great again. We will get us out of the slump, this decline. Gas prices will go down. They've gone considerably down, more than last year. I did a TikTok it was last year, but a couple days ago last year, and I was the gas was like $5 in Michigan. It was five. It was like 5.28 or something like that. And so I shot a video of the gas prices, and I took that song, and this is like during the height of like Stranger Things, and it was like, if I only could I make a deal with God, and I get him to swap our places, and I showed a picture of Biden and Trump, and because the gas was so insanely high, and it's still high. It's like 3 something, so that's better than 5 something. I couldn't believe it jumped up to 5. I'm like, I never would have thought, but it's still high though at like 3. It's like 3, I don't know, 50 something, 360 something, like it's around there. It fluctuates, but Trump's entire campaign should be I was right. I told you this would happen, but there is a better way. That should be his campaign. Not, going on Truth Social and ripping everybody who disagrees with him, ripping every former person who says a stat that he doesn't like, because that's he went off about Kaylee because she said, a poll or something that he didn't like, or said that she claimed that she misread it or something like that, and called her milk toast. And it's like, you don't have to do that. And even some of his attacks on DeSantis, he started attacking him pretty early. Now they're both in the race. He can attack away, I guess. But I still don't think he should focus too much on him. I think he should focus on the Biden did this. I told you he would. I can fix this. And I'm the only one to fix it because my record. And he has all these things that he can list that a lot of people do really appreciate. So that should be his focus. I think DeSantis's focus should be, this man can't win. 2024. That should be his focus. And not just that, but as far as his attacks with Trump goes, I don't know how much he's done attacks trying to differentiate himself from Trump. And there's been some good points made, but at the same time, he needs a lot of MAGA people to vote for him, to switch over and vote. So I think playing at that fear of, can Trump actually win in 2024? Like, if he wins the primary and you go ahead and support him, are you going to have that same dread that you had in 2020 on election night with Biden winning again? Like, that needs to be what DeSantis focuses on. I don't know, the strategy of going so hard in on Trump is going to work, because again, like Trump's above 50%. He's above 50% with support right now. So you need to convince Trump people to vote for you. But he does need to make his case. Like, he has a great commercial with people in Florida saying, like, thank you, Governor DeSantis, you kept our business open. You let me play, you let me go to school, except you let me go to the beach, and all kinds of different stuff. So that kind of message, and bringing that outward everywhere to like, I can govern effectively. I will do that nationally. He needs to paint that picture. Unfortunately, he is not as charismatic or as interesting or as funny as Trump. So you know he's got a lot to work on there, but he has a good record. Trump has a good record of president, not without some fumbles here and there. I think the Brett's question about him hiring, he said he hires the best people, but he has a list of people that he hired that it didn't work out. They left, and he reamed on them as if they're awful people. And not just people he hired, but also people he endorsed. So that really gets me. He's like, he'll rag on people as if they're so terrible. And it's like, but why did you endorse them if they were awful? There was, is it the Iowa governor maybe that he recently was upset at, and he dogged them, and he had endorsed them, and then like he said, and does he doesn't like Indians? It's like, why'd you support someone who's racist? If you think he's a bad person, doesn't like Indians, why did you support him? And a lot of the attacks with other people, he undermines himself in some kind of way. So he just has to have more discipline. I'm begging him to have more discipline as he goes through his primary season. But this he did address his legal issues with Brett, and so this was really something in the interview.
Please, please, could we have it back?
And they
please,
asked for that.
because they have no. We
They
were
did
talking.
ask for it.
No, and
they said,
I gave
"Can you
them
give the
some,
documents back?"
and we were talking.
And then they said they went to DOJ to subpoena you to get them
which
back.
they've never done before.
Right. And
in
but
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to Nara yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but
I've been
according to
very,
the
very
indictment,
busy.
you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things, golf shirts, clothing, pants, shoes. There were many things. I would say
Iran war
much more, not that I know of, but everything was declassified. And Biden didn't have the right to do that because he wasn't president. Nor did Mike Pence, by the way, have the right to do that because he wasn't president.
Right. I'm not going to.
So they go on, and Brett, mentions that the other folks comply with the DOJ, but they did, in Biden's case, he had stuff for a while, but um, so normally when someone is being tried or something, investigated, normally lawyers and folks would tell them not to say anything. And I think that's a really big temptation for Trump. And like, he's coming to Michigan on Sunday, and I'm sure this is going to be a big, topic of conversation. And so he doesn't he have to go on the stand and testify and risk incriminating himself, but they can use parts of the interview for certain. So he's not just being charged with having documents, he's being charged for obstructing, and he just said, like, yeah, it's true. He didn't dispute, like, having boxes moved, having aides move boxes, moving them to different locations and other things. um and his argument is they were his boxes. He didn't have to give them back, and he certainly didn't need to give them back right away because he needed to look through the stuff because he has golf shorts and pants in them. Now, I think some of that makes sense. Because they're like, you want to make sure that what's yours is yours and what's theirs is theirs. Should it should it be taking as long as it is, and get to the point where he told his lawyers to look at the stuff and have them say, like, hey, this is everything, and it wasn't really everything. I don't think he acted in the best manner, and we'll see all what his lawyers end up saying during his defense. Again, I'm looking forward to his defense, because what's alleged in the indictment is pretty bad. That doesn't mean there's not some kind of explanation or that everything in it is even true. The question is, what can you prove? you know, at the end of the day, whether or not he's going down. But his lawyers are the ones who gave a lot of information. And they were able to do that because there were criminal things going on, as far as lying to the, government, and talking about destroying evidence and all kinds of different things. So we'll see what happens on that front. But I don't know, it would probably be best if he just kind of didn't talk about it, because what he's doing is he's fighting for himself in the court of public opinion and making a case. And I don't know how much he actually has to do that, by the way, because people who really love him kind of, I don't want to say don't care, but they're still going to defend him and still be like, oh, they're coming after him for this, and oh, and they have a defense within them that they don't believe what people are saying negatively about him because he's been so targeted repeatedly. So I don't know that he has to go up there and try to kind of make his case on Fox and stuff. And they could kind of maybe just wait to the trial and be as wise as possible for this, because this isn't just politics. Is he going to spend the rest of his life possibly in prison? And I think there's people out there who really hate him and want to see him in prison. But they would also maybe take some. I'm torn because I'm like, would even someone take make like if there's some kind of plea deal for him to like not even run and other stuff like that? Would that be on the table? Would someone want to put them that offer on the table to do like house arrest for the rest of his life or something? I don't, well, not house arrest or something, but just to be like, no, you can't run for president, because I know that they really do want him to run. Biden and them, like he'd be their best nominee to run against, in their opinion, in the eyes of the media and stuff. One, because the media would like it because it's crazy buku attention, and he drums up money. Though people have really bad ratings stuff now, but it'd be like nothing if we weren't having conversations about him. So yes, they like him on that front, but also they feel that he will lose. So if everything is about him and people are going to vote to either see him in jail or not in jail or whatever, um, I think they feel pretty confidently that he won't win. So I would still think they'd want him to. I don't know if they want him to go to jail more or they want him to lose more. I don't know. I don't know. But I think he should probably temper it down, take it down a peg, and not really talk about this case so much. But I I don't think he has that kind of discipline in him really. But or well, I don't want to say that. Like, I don't know, about the last week of the 2016 election, maybe the last week or two, he seemed pretty disciplined as far as like what he said at the rallies or the kind of stuff that he was tweeting. I don't think he was actually tweeting. I think he gave his tweets or whatever phone over to somebody else, whatever. But it was a lot more disciplined campaign because they just didn't want to trip at the end. And if he could have like ran his presidency like he ran basically the last week or so of the election, things would have just been fabulous. Or his camp, if he'd run his campaign like that, that would be fabulous. But I don't think he feels that he really has to. But these are serious charges, and I don't want to see him in jail for the rest of his life. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Um, but we'll see if we can get some of these charges thrown out, or what he can speak to and disprove. And even the story, I thought his take on the one thing that was pretty bad in the indictment, he was like talking to a journalist about Iran plans or something, and he held up something you hear wrestling and say like, I could have declassified it, but I didn't, or whatever. So it sounds like he had like documents that he was showing to the reporter, or maybe they didn't look at it or something, but he had it in his hands, and he's saying admitting that it's not declassified because he didn't declassify it. And so but they couldn't find the paper that they was referring to or whatever for the indictment. So Trump's claim is that that wasn't actually like a document battle plan. It was like a newspaper clipping or something like that. So if that's the case, I think that's interesting. And I think that kind of takes down one of the things that were the most kind of upsetting. Um, if that audio clip that people are talking about isn't what people thought it was. So we'll see. Again, I'm very interested in his defense, and it's possible that it'll help happen a lot sooner than maybe we expected. But I don't know. There's also other reports saying that it's most likely this trial is not about to happen super fast, and there's a good chance that maybe it'll still be pushed until after the election. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, lastly, before I let you go, um, I was called a pick me today. Well, I think it was this morning I saw it maybe, and they called me a pick me like a week or so ago over the Little Mermaid movie. um, and I had talked about this artist who drew a picture of Ariel, like cartoon Ariel, and they even said it was cartoon Ariel. And they drew her from a scene in the film. And so many people called this person a racist because they drew cartoon Ariel from a scene from the movie and they feel like Holly Bailey is like it's her moment and everyone is supposed to just be happy about it or whatever. And so most people when I posted a video about it thought that was pretty crazy how people were acting on Twitter. It's funny to see TikTok people bash Twitter people. But because I'm like, y'all wild on TikTok, but y'all just trashing the Twitter folks. But someone called me a pick me, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And people have thrown that term around, but I think that's like one of the weirdest reasons why someone's ever called me one. And so some people came to my defense, and so this person ended up saying I'm a pick me because not just because I like the original Ariel, which I like the Little Mermaid, but it wasn't like my Disney movie. Like I have sisters who like my sister Angelina, my sister Gina liked that movie far more than I did. Like I liked it fine, but I definitely liked other Disney movies more. Um, I'm not as I find conversations surrounding this interesting, but I'm not very emotionally attached to it. Not like some other people are. I just think it's a fascinating conversation, and that's why I'm talking about it. But they said that they like the original Ariel, and that's not why I'm a pick me, but I'm a pick me because I wanted to give the new movie a chance. Which I that's like the dumbest reason to call me a pick me. Um, so I'm like what, a race traitor or saying stuff for white support just by saying I'm not going to give this movie a chance. That's crazy. First of all, I don't see a lot of movies. My family go to the movies like about every week. Unless there's like just nothing out or something comes up. But they go to the movie basically every Tuesday. And they ask me just about every week. Even though my answer is likely no. My answer is likely no because I would rather just something unless I really want to see the film, I would rather just do something else. I'd rather be editing a video, I'd rather be working on another book. I'd rather, compile a TikTok or something like that. And that's all part of work. My stuff gets clicks and views and monetization and grows my following, whatever. So I would just rather do something else than spend like 2+ hours in the theater seeing a film that I not very interested in seeing. I just would rather do other things with my time. And so they've seen a movie just about every week this year. And I've probably only gone to the movies about 3 times. I saw John Wick, which was really good. I saw um what else did I see? I feel like I saw something else. I saw Nefarious, and I saw that film because I saw a bunch of TikTok clips that came up in my algorithm. It looked interesting, and then This Is Savvy reviewed it, and I was like, oh well, let me check this. And I'm the one who told my family about it because some of them were interested in seeing something else, and then I was like, well, I want to see this movie, and so then they're like, okay, we'll see this movie, and I'm like, if you don't like it, like my mom will glare at you if you suggest something and you know like a food or something and she tries it and she's not into it or something. I'm like, it's not my fault, you made a decision with your free will. And but everybody really liked it. I really really enjoyed the film. um I think I saw another film, but I can't remember what it was. But a lot of films I didn't see because they didn't interest me enough to want to go to sit down in the theater. So they're gonna go see The Flash tonight. I don't want to see The Flash, and I'm kind of interested in Michael Keaton scenes, but I know that they used him for a nostalgia bait, and I'm not gonna play their game. So maybe I'll watch it on HBO Max one day, but I'm not running off to the theater to see The Flash. So so I just it it's such a dumb reason. I didn't see anything in the trailers or in the commentary or the clips that I've seen that's like, "Yep, let me go watch that." If they want me to go to the movies, because 'cause they're like, "Well, nostalgia, it's a Little Mermaid." Eh, like, ok you can't lure me in with nostalgia after you you changed things that I like about it, and then you're mad at me for complaining about things that you change. And I also don't really like the live action Disney stuff, so much. I feel like it really doesn't capture the same magic. I don't like the woke little changes that they do as well. But the main reason, and I'm going to do a more complex video talking about this, that I don't want to see it is because I feel like Disney is a deeply evil company and they resent the customers that made them great. They resent my values and my morals. And I think it's been made pretty clear at times and through several different examples. And as Eric July says, you shouldn't give more than 50% of your money to people who hate you. So I've decided to cut out Disney as much as I could. So I haven't seen any sort of, um, Star Wars, Marvel, project, or Disney film or Pixar since WandaVision. That was the last thing that I saw, like went out my way to see. And that was just me going on Disney Plus. But I haven't watched anything since then. And WandaVision came out some time ago. So I didn't watch the Spider-Man movie with the three Spider-Mans. I didn't go to theaters to see that, even though everybody was like, oh my gosh, great movie. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I was like a stance. So and that's how I feel. But people who are so attached to like, oh, there's a black Little Mermaid. Disney decided to side with the people who were against the parental rights and education bill. Maybe you heard of them refer to it as the Don't Say Gay bill. And in that bill, they said that you can't teach about gender identity and sexual orientation stuff to kids in grades K through 3 or in older grades if it's done in an inappropriate manner. And which most people agreed with that, even Democrats who lived in Florida, when you just kind of read them the language of the bill, but also that schools cannot hide important information from the parents pertaining to like the mental health. So Disney at first, tried to kind of have a passive approach to it. And then when they got basically pestered by their employees, they said that they would do what they could to try to get that overturned. So if they're going to invest the money that you use when you go to the movie theater and you buy a ticket so your child can see a black Little Mermaid because that's what they got you so emotionally invested, and Disney is promising to take that dollar and reinvest it into these wackadoodles, politicians and these activists who want to undermine that bond, that parental bond that you have with your child, so some adult can convince your child that they are trans and then change their gender identity at school and give them pronouns and make some kind of plan. So if your child who's a female can sleep in a boy's cabin because that's how she now identifies, I don't think that's cool. So that's the real reason why I didn't see it. Not because I'm some kind of sellout, because I'm not, oh, slay, hey, Holly Bailey. I don't have anything against the girl. I don't think she was casted correctly for the role. But that's what Disney was going for, and she took the job, she took the paycheck. It is what it is. I don't have anything personally against her. I know some people have commented and said some really rude things and stuff about her appearance or whatever. I haven't done such thing. Other than the obvious, I think they should have casted someone who looks like Ariel. Yeah, but doesn't make me pick me. But it's just the dumbest things that people come at me for. Um, but I'm sure that's part of the strategy of these allies or whatever getting super defensive and attacking people if they don't bow down with the agenda and go along with the program. But if you think that I'm supposed to just be to pledge my loyalty to a movie because the lead is black, I think that's because you're racist, not because I am. um but anyway, please go blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, cost of stream on my website, all that good stuff. Please check out different merch that we have at the store. like the cool black tea mug, and we got the My Money My Business shirt. So all kinds of goodies you guys can get at the website. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow.